So, what do you think is one habit that most successful people have in common? You want to guess? Because I can tell you, it's reading books. And not necessarily reading books to be entertained, more reading books to be informed or to be educated. So, Bill Gates, for example, reads 50 books a year. Elon Musk is an avid reader, and when he was asked how he learned how to build rockets, he said he read about it in a book. And Oprah Winfrey, I think everybody knows, she has her famous book of the month club. So reading for successful people is a really big focus. Warren Buffett is um, one of the most successful business people ever, and he read 500 pages a day. That was his advice to anybody: read books, read books, read books. So the other books that highly successful people read, in addition to learning books to educate them, is books about other successful people, biographies and autobiographies about other successful people and how they became successful. So I wanted to share with you some of my favorite books. I have been a reader my whole life. I'm a bookworm. My mom used to say, "Would you please go outside and play?" Because I'd be up in my room reading. Now, I wasn't reading business books then. However, recently one of my sisters said, "Hey, can you send out some good books for a vacation I'm going on?" And I looked around and I said, "All I have are business books right now. I'm not reading to entertain. I'm reading to be educated." And so, just to give you some ideas, I went and grabbed these off my shelf. I have some other recommendations for you, but these are the ones I went and grabbed off my shelf. So, one of my favorite books is The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. It's a really interesting book. It's all about that magical or pivotal moment when things change and things happen. If you haven't, I'm not going to give you like a whole in depth on these. Whichever one might pique your interest, this is how little things can make a big difference. He also wrote Outliers, which is an excellent book. And so these two books have been really popular: The Tipping Point and Outliers. This happens to be the fifth agreement. Many of you may have heard of the four agreements. I use the four agreements in my life every single day. And with the four agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, the four agreements are: be integrous with your word, don't make assumptions, don't take things personally, and always do your best. Those are the four agreements. Sounds really easy, right? It sounds pretty simple and straightforward. However, there's a whole book about it. The chapter on each thing goes pretty in depth. And I have found in my life, when I'm in a condition of an upset, when I'm upset about something, when I'm pretty bent out of shape, or, just have a lot of energy around something, if I go down that checklist, the four agreements. Have I been integrous with my word? I always look at me. You always look at you, right? Am I taking things personally? Somebody said something that hurt me. Am I taking it personally? Am I making assumptions? And have I done my best? So I highly, highly, highly recommend Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. It will change your life. It has changed mine. And this happens to be the fifth agreement. So get through the first four and then see what the fifth one is. One of my favorite books of all time. So this is more, not a business book necessarily, but a personal growth journey. And again, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I read this probably about 25 years ago. And then I bought it in Spanish and challenged myself to read it in Spanish as a little personal challenge, which it was for sure. What they say about this book is, let's see, beneath this novel's compelling story and the shimmering elegance with which it's told lies a bedrock of wisdom about following one's heart. And just recommend it. Ask around. You'll find out a lot of people have read this book. One of my personal favorites, this is about network marketing, building an empire, Brian Carruthers, awesome, awesome book. I mean, I started reading it and I started highlighting and highlighting and highlighting. I'm like, oh, this is good. Oh, this applies. Oh, this is great. So if you happen to have chosen network marketing as your field, sorry about the reflection, I highly recommend that you pick up this book and read it. It is a great how to get started and how to be successful in network marketing. What's next? Oh, Daniel Pink. Awesome. To sell is human. So the premise of this book, for all of you people who say, oh, I could never do network marketing, or I could never do whatever business it is because I'm not a salesperson. Well, Daniel Pink's point is we're all salespeople. Parents are salespeople to their children, selling their ideas, selling their rules, selling their morals and their values. A secretary, any person in a company is a salesperson because they're always trying to get somebody to do what they want done. So every human sells to every other human, their ideas, their drive, their what they want to accomplish. So really interesting, very, very interesting book. He also wrote a book called Drive, which was all about what motivates people and how different things motivate different people, which I thought was fascinating. So both of those books, Drive and To Sell is Human. Wow. If you haven't read this book, look how skinny it is. Look, you could read it in an hour. You could read it, maybe 2 hours. Who moved my cheese? It's all about change and the fear of change and how we're so conditioned to stay comfortable and stay in our little part of the maze that if somebody moved the cheese, we wouldn't be able to find it, right? Really, really, really awesome book. Highly recommend. Again, like seriously, tiny, maybe an hour read, but you'll read it again. It's on my bookshelf. I've probably read it 5 times. One of my favorite books, and these are fun. I picked the fun ones, you guys. I didn't pick the dry, boring, business ones that you have to slog through. These are fun. Freakonomics is a fun book. It's about learning to think a little bit differently about things, not looking for the obvious solutions, but learning to kind of train your mind to work around the problem and see what really could be the underlying cause, not just the surface symptoms, but really what lies deep underneath. Really awesome book. I got this book, and my son just started his second year of his MBA program, and I sent him a book that's by the same authors called Think Like a Freak. Again, kind of same premise of really training your brain to think outside the box and challenge the way you normally think about things. I'll save this one for the last. I have 2 other recommendations, and I didn't have them on my shelf because I've given them away. I've probably given away 10 copies of a book called The Slight Edge. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson is one of my favorite books. I quote it all the time. And what I quote from it is his concept, his underlying business concept, that it's the little things that are easy to do or not do every day that make the difference. So it's doing those things every single day, building that habit, building that consistent pattern of behavior. And it's a little thing that's easy to do and a little thing that's easy not to do. So if your commitment is to work out for 15 minutes a day, that's an easy thing to do. It's easy to work out 15 minutes a day, right? Who couldn't work out 15 minutes a day? Even if it's just, walking up and down your stairs or, grabbing a weight, and 15 minutes a day. But it's also really easy not to do it. Put it off, skip it, put it off, and then all of a sudden it's midnight and you haven't exercised your 15 minutes. So it's kind of like that. There's exercises in it. Highly recommend that you read that book. One of my favorites. And here, when they were talking about biographies and autobiographies of really successful people, this is my book. It's Mom and Dadpreneurs. That's me there. And this is a book, stories from 25 different people who've been very successful in moving away from the traditional 9-to-5 job and creating for themselves a life that is more focused on family, focused on spending time together as a family, focused on having time and financial freedom, having control of their time and the finances to do really fabulous things together, fun trips and big adventures. And so, in keeping with read biographies and autobiographies of successful people and find out how they did it, this is a good one for that category. So, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've got some good tips for picked up some good tips for your next book to read. And if you see this video posted somewhere and you'd like to comment below your favorite book, the one book that I thought was amazing, it's called the Carpenter and the Energy Bus, John Gordon, and gives strategies for business success that are universal and easy read, pretty much hits home. And I think that you will really quick read, few hours, maybe not hard to get through, but the principles of the Carpenter I think will really stick with you. I just recommended the Carpenter to somebody the other day, and the Slight Edge I recommend to everybody. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some good ideas, and signing off.